A new week means a new lineup for Mid-Range Monday, where it's time to highlight the best mid-range shots from week 12 of the NBA regular season. This week, we tip off in Miami, where the Pelicans were in town for a West vs. East matchup. Jeremiah Fears returns to the lineup after hitting this one-legged jump shot after a mean snatchback on Simone Fontecchio. Another look, we see Fears sell a catch-and-go opportunity to his left, which causes Fontecchio to fall for the fake and jump to that side. As Fears crosses over, he notices Norman Powell in position to potentially help on his drive. So he gives a slow between the legs cross back to his left, followed by a hesitation move to keep his defender guessing. After the hezi, Fears goes through his legs and explodes right as if he's seeking to drive past Fontecchio. But just as he gets a step on him, he snatches back his dribble and pulls up for a fadeaway off one leg, giving him the space to sink the shot over the contest. We've highlighted Jeremiah Fears' ability to change pace before, as this is yet another example of how he likes to use different dribble combos at different speeds to create space for jump shots and driving lanes. In fact, his low dribble before the snatchback looked very reminiscent of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Bigger defenders are more likely to bite on change of pace dribbles as they have less room for error when trying to keep up with shifty guards. Since they always try to stay ahead of the offensive player's moves, it can actually become easier to hit them with counter moves they may not expect. Kobe Bryant once stressed how important it is to be a predictable scorer, as being predictable allows you to find counter moves that will eventually make you an unpredictable scorer. This is why shifty guards tend to be some of the better scorers in the league. It's not a great sign for defenses if Jeremiah Fears is already starting to figure that out, yet it's awesome for us, as we'll get to watch him slowly emerge as one of the next electrifying scoring threats in this league. Staying east, we move to Washington now, where the Timberwolves came to visit and Julius Randle absolutely toyed with Alex Sarr before getting his fadeaway to go. A closer look, Julius gets the ISO against the 7-footer and seeks to throw his positioning and timing off with a series of dribble moves. With mobile, guard-like dribble skills, Julius understood that maintaining a lower base while giving the quick dribble combo would be imperative if he wanted to overcome a strong interior defender in Sarr. However, Julius was unsuccessful at his attempt to catch Sarr off guard and had to opt for a self-post entry. And just as he turns his back to the basket, he gives Alex Sarr a ball fake, faking a spin move towards the middle of the floor before fading towards the baseline and knocking down the shot after a witty move. Alex Sarr did a nice job maintaining strong defensive positioning against Randle, but like we always go over here, the best scorers have a checklist of options before they give up on a play, and just as Alex Sarr figured Julius would succumb to his defense, it took a simple shoulder and ball fake to bring him out of position and watch Julius Randle's shot fall through the net. Julius Randle is so good when he's aggressive operating closer to the basket, and his post game remains among the best at his position. He may have had a size disadvantage here, but since coming into the league, Julius Randle has reminded us time and time again that as long as you can get buckets, size don't matter. Welcome back to the lineup, Julius. Out west now, we travel to Sacramento, where the Bucks faced off against the Kings, and Kevin Porter Jr. used a quick and lethal crossover on Precious Achiuwa to get the mid-range shot to fall. Notice how upon receiving the handoff from Giannis slipped the screen perfectly, which forced DeMar DeRozan to make a split-second decision to switch onto Giannis and watch KPJ get the mismatch on Precious Achiuwa. It was clear that Precious expected Giannis to hold his screen, but thankfully, the Kings were able to switch on time and not give up an easy basket inside. That said, they may have avoided an easy score from Giannis, but now they have Precious Achiuwa against the crafty Kevin Porter Jr., who turns the corner before stopping on a dime with a behind-the-back dribble. With some space to drive to his left, Kevin's low stance here would allow him to attack Precious's hip. As KPJ and Precious are thinking the same thing here, Kevin decides to immediately cross over to his right, catching Precious out of position and creating plenty of space to shoot the open J. Once again, we see the art of changing speeds shine here as KPJ's slow behind the back set up his knockout blow, the crossover back to his right. There's no need to dance if plan A and plan B are set in place. KPJ knew that less could prove to bring more, not just for himself, but for his team. This simple yet effective combo helped KPJ overcome a bigger defender and in turn, put himself back in the Mid-Range Monday Masterclass. Staying put in California, it was the Lakers who hosted the Grizzlies, and Luka Doncic gave his guests a warm welcome in the first quarter with not just a one-legged fadeaway, but a one-handed fadeaway. They don't call him Luka Magic for no reason. Let's look at it again. With Jake LaRavia struggling to find a shot opportunity inside, Luka chooses to be a proactive teammate as he recognizes Jalen Wells and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope turning to face the basket. With their eyes off of him, he is able to beeline into the open space towards the basket and receive the pass at the free throw line. Luka made his cut just in time, as if he was even a split second late, it might have been intercepted by Jalen Wells. Upon the catch, Luka drives and draws contact on Wells, and this is usually how he likes to initiate his step back jumper in the mid-range. But you know Luka, just when you think you know what he's gonna do, he pulls a rabbit out of his hat at the last second. Instead of dribbling, he comes to a jump stop inside the crowded paint, and instead of fading back, he fakes the pass to Jake LaRavia, who has since relocated to the open spot in the strong side corner. This was such a high IQ move from Luka, as it turned a double team into a one-on-one situation again. Even as he decides to take a tougher shot, shooting over one defender is much better than trying to shoot over two of them. As he looks to shoot, not only does he go to his signature Dirk fade, but he actually decides to shoot the ball with one hand, floating the ball up with enough touch to convert a well-earned bucket. Once again though, I can't help but wonder if Luka got away with shuffling his feet a bit there. But as always, if there's no whistle, you gotta keep playing. Luka Doncic is one of the select few players in the league that specialize in converting heads-up plays like this. The ability to be that many steps ahead of the defense is admirable, as it comes from a combination of game experience and film study. I can talk all day about Luka's fadeaway and shooting touch, but the reason this shot even became available was due to Luka showing great maturity by not watching his teammates struggle and look to be a solution to the Grizzlies' stout defense. And what a solution this was from Luka Doncic, one of the smartest and craftiest mid-range scorers the game has seen. Next, we head north to none other than Toronto, where Brandon Ingram beat Kristaps Porzingis with a smooth dribble combo and hesitation before spinning his way to a smooth fadeaway. A deeper look, Brandon brings the ball up and immediately calls for a screen to get pickpocket Dyson Daniels off of him. As Brandon drives right, they successfully get the switch as he has his sights on finding a shot in the open space around the elbow. As we've went over multiple times already, Ingram once again finds himself against a taller yet slower defender, so he knows all he needs is a quick dribble or two to get even a small step ahead of his defender. B.I. opts for the double tween on the move, as the quick lean to his left forces Porzingis to shift his weight to that side and get caught off balance. After this, Ingram thinks about the pull-up right there, but doesn't settle for that first shot, as he is well aware of Kristaps' size advantage that will still give him a chance to contest the shot. So he gives a quick head fake and hesitation move before driving into Kristaps' midsection. But of course, this allows him to keep Porzingis moving backward and open up his opportunity to pivot and shoot the fadeaway going the opposite direction, hitting nothing but the bottom of the net. This is yet another great example of how to not settle for the first shot upon space creation and see if there is a better window available. Keep in mind, had he done that against a smaller defender, he would risk the defender disrupting his handle and as a result, miss his opportunity to score. But because he was up against a taller defender, he had to make sure that whatever shot he took was the best look possible. As a bigger wing, Brandon Ingram's long strides allow him to get to whatever spot he wants to on the court, and we see how this, combined with his handle, helped him catch his defender off balance and cash in on his signature fadeaway. Brandon Ingram is the definition of smooth. In Philly, Tyrese Maxey dropped a smooth bucket of his own, hitting the step back fade after this unfair dribbling display versus Zeke Nnaji. As an explosive slashing threat, Tyrese's eyes get wide as he sees the abundance of space to work with towards his dominant hand. But that's just too predictable. Just as Tyrese takes a strong dribble right, he snatches back, which actually gives him free reign to take the long two, or more realistically, step back into his three-point shot. But again, Tyrese knows that is to be expected. He then goes into his tween cross tween rhythmic size up, keeping Nnaji on his toes before exploding back to his right, only to still be stonewalled by the bigger Nnaji. But the contact only works in Tyrese's favor, as he is able to step away from Nnaji once again before creating an abundance of space in the mid-range and pulling up for the fadeaway over the hand of the defense. Woo! You can tell that Tyrese learned a lot from his big bro James Harden during their short time in Philly together, as Maxey's now signature size up and step back carries the same rhythm as Harden's. What makes this move so successful is not just the fancy dribbling display, but the stop and go nature of Maxey's dribble progressions. We often see the repeated combination of one moving dribble followed by 2 to 3 standstill dribbles. While Zeke Nnaji did a more than respectable job staying in front of Maxey, in a funny way he's still at a disadvantage. If he plays too soft, Tyrese can take the jumper or fake the jumper and drive. If he plays too tight, Tyrese will still look to drive to the hoop or step back for a shot. Notice how his first step back served as a preview of how Najee might play him. That's why he waited to shoot his shot after the second step back, as he was simply willing to find out just how committed his defender was to taking away his driving lane. Once he knew a shot would be available, he didn't hesitate to shoot upon the second step back. Tyrese Maxey's lightning quick first step and elite change of pace have helped him evolve into a dangerous pick-your-poison scorer. His step back jumper is absolutely vicious, and after this display, it was a no-brainer to include him in this week's Mid-Range Monday showcase. Back to the West we go. This time we're in Portland to see a new face enter the Mid-Range Monday showcase. Sidy Cissoko, who represents the Blazers with this nifty behind-the-back step-back combo before hitting the jumper with ease. With another look, we see the Jazz put 2 on the ball after the pick and roll between Deni Avdija and Robert Williams. In the effort to disrupt the Blazers' game plan and take the ball out of Avdija's hands, they choose to double him up top and force the ball out of his hands. Now, because they still have to account for Williams as the roll man, we see Isaiah Collier slide over from the corner to become the low man, which gives Lauri Markkanen the responsibility to cover Sidy Cissoko on the wing and Ryan Rupert in the corner. Because of this defensive setup, Cissoko is able to get the ball on the wing with an open look at a three-pointer. As the Jazz re-establish their defense, Markkanen closes out strong on Cissoko, which allows him to pass up the three and attack the space to his left. After his first dribble, Cissoko quickly reads that Markkanen will try to cut him off, so before he even does so, Cissoko instinctively dribbles behind his back to his right, forcing Markkanen to zigzag. And still miles ahead of the play, Cissoko wasn't done there, as he knew to immediately step back away from Markkanen upon drawing contact, which gives him more than enough room to comfortably shoot the elbow jumper with no regard for Markkanen's late contest. Admittedly, I don't know much about Sidy Cissoko, but growing up as a Chicagoland kid, he reminds me a bit of Luol Deng. Because of his eventual All-NBA defensive ability, a lot of people slept on Luol Deng's offensive contributions to the game. Sidy Cissoko seems to share similar sneak attack offense after executing a shot like this. He was well ahead of his defender and used the perfect dribble combo to attack the space between he and Markkanen, and as a reward, step into the new area of space that appeared and convert the highlight play. This is why you always have to tune in to Mid-Range Monday, as we can both learn a thing or two while we celebrate the art of the mid-range. Welcome to the club, Sidy Cissoko. Next, we go to Memphis, where Cam Spencer put on a mid-range exhibition as he led the Grizzlies to a clutch victory over the Spurs. Check out this crafty and one midi, even making a defender like Stephon Castle look silly. Let's run it back. Late in the shot clock, Cam has the ball in a very tough spot, as the clip picks up with him running into a defensive wall of Luke Kornet and Castle. As he retreats, he runs into Harrison Barnes, who is following Jaren Jackson along the corner. Somehow, he is still able to get low and protect the ball from both Barnes and Castle, as he shields Castle with his body and controls Barnes with his off arm. Suddenly, a window opens up to his left side, which he could take to score inside or dump off to Christian Koloko. Seeing this, he gives a small fake like he's going to take that lane, before dribbling back towards the middle of the floor. Castle eagerly jumps to that side and gives the opportunity for Cam to attack. But with Castle playing tight, Cam takes 2 dribbles before stopping on a dime and giving a wise head fake, successfully forcing Castle to leave his feet. Cam takes advantage of Castle's anxious defense like all great scorers do and leans into his body as he decides to shoot the off-balance jumper, bailing out the Grizzlies' possession by not only drawing the shooting foul, but making the shot and padding their lead with the and one. Man, what a bailout heads-up play from Cam Spencer. Despite some great defense from the Spurs and poor spacing, Cam was still able to take himself from dangerous positioning to a bit of freedom before converting on an extremely tough shot with the shot clock against him. But this is what the best scorers do, right? Make a way out of no way. Cam Spencer staying poised under pressure and keeping his dribble alive led to a shot that very likely helped them win a close game against a really good Spurs team. He makes a well-deserved return to Mid-Range Monday with this wild yet high IQ play. Speaking of high IQ, in the Heat's road matchup versus the T-Wolves, Norman Powell combats the trailing defense of Donte DiVincenzo with a pump fake and pirouette that gave him more space than NASA. Off the baseline inbound, Norman Powell breaks free from Donte DiVincenzo and sprints towards the open space in the corner. Upon the catch, Norm knows he has enough space to shoot right away, and so does DiVincenzo. Since DiVincenzo was already out of position, Norm knew his closeout was going to be strong as he sought to get back into the play. So he wisely throws up a pump fake, sending DiVincenzo flying out of bounds before pivoting towards the space on the opposite side, giving him an abundance of time to calmly finish the play with the easy jump shot. Less is more indeed. This was great situational and spatial awareness from Norman Powell. He understood that DiVincenzo being out of position would make him eager to fall for a shot fake with an open look, and while leaning a bit to his left, the pivot became the perfect option to turn an open look into a wide open look. One shot fake, one dribble, cash. Norman Powell makes back-to-back appearances in the lineup as he reminds us that even the simplest of moves can still earn a player a spot amongst elusive company. Over in Utah, Keyonte George sealed the deal in a tight game versus the Mavericks after relying on his handle to weave through the Dallas defense and sink the fadeaway dagger. With Keyonte only a few steps over half court, Najee Marshall is guarding him aggressively, not only to potentially prevent the Jazz from generating offense, but to actually get a steal and improve the Mavs' chances at a comeback. However, his aggressive defense comes back to bite him, as his unsuccessful steal attempts thanks to Keyonte's ball security eventually gets him out of position with plenty of space for Keyonte to get a much better chance to score. As Cooper Flagg switches onto Keyonte, George opts to step back and temporarily reset his approach, only to hesitate and burst towards his right, seeking to attack the small gap there. But with Cooper Flagg recovering and cutting off the drive, and Max Christie stunting from the corner, the driving lane closes up. But Keyonte doesn't panic, as this actually allows him to pivot the opposite direction where there is much more space and fade away from Flagg, coming through in the clutch with a difficult bucket. When Keyonte took on Cooper Flagg, there wasn't really a lane on either side, so he had to create one. His drive into a bit of traffic actually helped him get an open look. If you're a shot creator, you have to take a lot of pride in that second word. Oftentimes, you have to make the defense work and attack seams that may not appear open at first, just to get the defense to shift one way before you attack another direction. Keyonte showed an example of that here and continues his All-Star campaign with yet another clutch performance and a second appearance on Mid-Range Monday. With shot creation in mind, who better to give another example for us than Payton Pritchard, who goes to work versus the Raptors and finishes the play with a rainbow free throw line fade. With the late shot clock isolation against Sandro Mamukelashvili, Pritchard knows he's got to go to work, and fast. As he inches towards his right, he gives a quick left to right crossover before dribbling behind his back, which finally opens up some space to his left towards the middle. Then, Pritchard attacks that space by dipping his shoulder and attacking Mamukelashvili's hip, drawing contact before opting for his step back jumper. As opposed to the traditional step back, you'll notice that Pritchard executes the runaway step back, which we've seen a lot more since the late 2010s. This version of the step back allows Pritchard to not only create space from a taller defender, but force the defender to not have a direct contest on his shot. Notice how Mamukelashvili is trying to run up to Pritchard and contest at the same time, like he's reaching for something that is running away from him. Despite a decent effort, it isn't the kind of positioning that helps him get an effective contest on Pritchard's shot, as the Celtics point guard gets the high arcing jumper to go. Payton Pritchard did an excellent job making his defender work. He had to use various crossovers to get him to zigzag, as his efforts inevitably gave him the space he was looking for. And with the runaway step back, he was able to create separation that made it difficult for his defender to affect his shot, where he got great elevation on his fadeaway. Payton Pritchard never makes moves without a plan, and he's shown us once again that even if it's late in the shot clock, he knows how to end a possession with 2 points. From Boston, we go to Brooklyn, where their Atlantic Division rival in the Nets hosted the Clippers, and Terance Mann swished home a smooth fadeaway to give the Nets their first Mid-Range Monday representative. Facing one of his former teams, it seemed fitting that Terance knew how to attack their defense. After receiving the pass on the right wing, Kawhi Leonard's quick attempt at an interception opens up a small window for Terance to drive to his right upon the catch. Ahead of the play though, Mann steps to his right before crossing to his left, faking the catch and go opportunity. This forces Kawhi slightly out of position and gives Mann the confidence to attack the space to his left. However, with Chris Dunn stunting and swiping at the ball from the elbow, it looks as if the gap might close, but Terance wisely uses the low pickup move to rip through Dunn and get to his spot at the dotted line. This was great execution of the low pickup, as it allowed Mann to protect the ball from an on-ball thief in Chris Dunn, while covering enough ground to launch himself into the spot he loves to shoot from. Then, with Kawhi on his hip, Mann stops and pivots the opposite direction before shooting his fadeaway, and because Kawhi chose to make a last effort strip as opposed to a contest, Mann is able to watch the shot hit nothing but nylon. Terance Mann has been working to master this shot since the 2020-21 season. As the years have progressed, he's gotten more and more comfortable getting to his spot and converting once he arrives. In a new situation with the Nets, he's been able to get these shots more consistently, and it's been good to see them falling. I've been waiting for Terance to represent BK to the fullest, and funny enough, it was a play against the franchise that molded him that gave him the opportunity to do so. Heading to Phoenix now, it was the Knicks who visited the Suns in an intense game where, despite the loss, Jalen Brunson used his footwork and a friendly bump to get the tough fadeaway to fall over Colin Gillespie. With under 10 seconds left on the shot clock and his team making a comeback charge, Jalen has the ball up top versus tight defense from Gillespie. Nonetheless, Brunson does a good job using his strength advantage to drive and spin the opposite direction, protecting the ball while moving as close to the basket as he can get. However, he's met by a strong stunt from Royce O'Neal at the nail, which successfully prevents Brunson from getting any driving lane. So Brunson steps back before initiating a hesitation dribble to his left. Yet still, Gillespie is doing a great job sliding his feet, playing tight defense without fouling, and staying in front of Brunson. With 5 seconds on the shot clock now, Brunson enters the post and takes a peek at the clock before backing down Gillespie and getting to the elbow. He then picks up his dribble and gives Gillespie a shimmy, successfully faking out Gillespie for a split second before going into his shot, or so we thought. Upon an eager contest from Gillespie due to being faked out, Brunson pump fakes and gives a strong shoulder bump to create some space between them. Upon the bump, Brunson takes a step towards the free throw line to set up a leaning one-legged fade, beating the shot clock by making a tough shot look easy. Against a player as crafty and as physical as Jalen Brunson, Colin Gillespie played just about the best defense you can play on him. He avoided fouling and forced him into a very difficult shot. But thanks to his footwork and refined back to the basket game, Jalen Brunson shows us once again that great offense beats great defense every single time. We continue to follow a small trend and end this week's edition with a shot from a rookie as Dylan Harper got to his spot in the mid-range and used a half spin to score over Anthony Simons. Harper gets the handoff from De'Aaron Fox and notices Simons playing him close, so he uses a clean between the legs to behind the back combo to get Simons off of him. As Simons slides away from him, a pocket of space opened up to Harper's right, influencing him to drive. But Simons does a good job cutting him off, while Hugo Gonzalez stunts to help close the gap some. Harper counters their defense with a half spin, opting not to go for a complete spin move with Derek White in position to help around the nail. The move successfully throws Simons off balance and creates a healthy amount of space to rise up to shoot over the late contest and trim the Celtics' lead with a veteran-esque bucket. You'll notice how similar this move was to Julius Randle's, as they both used half spins to create space for a fadeaway jumper. As we reviewed in prior videos, half spins are a great way to throw your defender's weight to one side and disrupt their angle to contest. Additionally, Harper's dribble combo and half spin helped him get away from a tight defender and find space to operate. He displayed great spatial awareness with these moves, as he's already shown the knack to attack angles in his young career. Dylan Harper does most of his damage at the basket, but this move shows us that he can sprinkle in the mid-range when he absolutely has to, which will only help him as his career progresses. Safe to say this rookie class values the mid-range just as much as we do. That's a wrap for the Week 12 recap of Mid-Range Monday. Drop a comment and let me know which shot was your favorite from last week's games, and as you follow the games this week, look out for the players who are money from the middle, as you just might see them appear in the next video.